All right. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome, everybody, to the Saturday Morning Mastermind. I'm your host today, and my name is Samantha Studebaker-Carl. I'm broadcasting to you from beautiful Indianapolis, Indiana, and I'm here with my good friends Catherine and Karen, and hopefully we'll have some more folks jump on with us. But today we're talking about verse 76 of the Tao Te Ching as interpreted by Wayne Dyer in his book, Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life, Living the Wisdom of the Tao. And but before we get going on that, I want to give my friends an opportunity to introduce themselves, and then we'll start our discussion. Jump out, guys.
Good morning. It's Catherine Clement in Boulder, Colorado, and looking forward to this verse. I can relate to this verse very easily, and also looking forward to figuring out what we're going to do after this book is over, because I just realized how close we are to the end and I didn't know. So thanks for being here.
Are you there, Karen?
I guess that's why they have a mute and an unmute.
There you go.
I was asking if Catherine was hard and stiff. I guess I need to be careful and think before I speak. I'm Karen Lohoff. I'm in Chandler, Arizona, just itching to get somewhere cool. Maybe Alaska, maybe Iceland. Anyway, it'll be fun to discuss this and get my mind off the heat. Thanks.
Oh my goodness, you must really be hot if you're sitting there thinking about wanting to go to Iceland. I hope you're only thinking that in terms of like a vacation. Okay. Oh, real quick, before we read the verse here, is that recently I created a document inside of our Mindset Mastery Collective Facebook group that has all the instructions for how to join and participate in this Saturday Mastermind. And I just created a quick, easy link to get there. So if you want to know how to join us next week, then go to SaturdayMorningMastermind.com. And that will take you to the document inside our little Facebook group. And you can join our Facebook group while you're over there too. So, okay, so who wants to read the verse today? Anyone?
I'll be glad to.
Okay, awesome.
Tao Te Ching Verse 76. A man is born gentle and weak. At his death he is hard and stiff. All things, including the grass and trees, are soft and pliable in life, dry and brittle in death. Stiffness is thus a companion of death, flexibility a companion of life. An army that cannot yield will be defeated. A tree that cannot bend will crack in the wind. The hard and stiff will be broken. The soft and supple will prevail.
Ooh. Weird. Oh, okay. I saw your mouse on the screen and I thought my mouse was going bananas. I couldn't get it to go where I wanted it to. That was funny. Okay, so what was I just going to say? I lost my train of thought because I thought my computer was going wonky there for a second. Okay, so the Karen, why don't you jump out and share? You were just about to ask Catherine about being hard and stiff. What made you say that compared to our verse here?
Well, sadly, I lost another puppy this week.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I'm about lost out, you might say. And, you know, I swear they look to me like they're breathing forever after. And I've just learned that I just need to wait, and at some point they're going to be stiff, and I will be sure that that everything is done. Well, not everything is done. Um, I really never had thought about this, that things being soft and supple and bendable and flexible, that has to do with life. Whereas when you get to the point, and it's interesting, how many people get to the point, even quite in advance of their death, where they're really hard and they're really stiff. They're not um, they're not open to others. They're not open to other ideas. They're really stiff in their behaviors. Um, it's just an interesting thing. I unfortunately am feeling rather stiff now that I think about it. I have a leg that's like just not cooperating, and um, it's not very fun to be, for me, it's not very fun to be at the end of life where I notice that there's things that are like ominous. And so I'm going to listen very carefully to the comments on this verse. And I would recommend that anyone that's maybe gotten onto this, our YouTube that gets posted after this, and they start to listen to this verse, that if nothing else, they take a serious look at the words and they do some serious thinking about the difference that they can demonstrate and that they might want to focus on. So little word of advice. Thanks.
I like how you brought up, as as we get older, we tend to be more, I don't know, stiff and hard. I think it's in terms of I mean, I think he's really kind of trying to address this aspect of it, as we kind of get stuck in our ways, and and we aren't as open to other possibilities. Of course, we talk physically, yeah, we all get a little stiff in the joints and that sort of thing too. But I think it's that when we get stuck in our ways and we aren't open to other possibilities, that we cut ourselves off, and that's difficult. We cut ourselves off to other possible things that could happen in our lives when we just aren't open to hearing other people's opinions, or we aren't open to experiencing new things, or yeah, I don't know. But another thing I was thinking about when I read the first part of the verse about, a man is born gentle and weak. And, of course, I have two new grandbabies that are, one is a little over a year and one's coming up on a year old. And I was just down in Georgia this week with my little granddaughter, and Bailey she is super flexible. It just amazes me how flexible she is. She's like, she falls down and her legs go like this, and she's just like tumbling around like it's no big deal, and her little feet are twisting sideways, and I mean, she's just having a good old time. But it's interesting because, I mean, if we look at how we come into this world, we're open to everything. It doesn't matter what it is. We're so open, and we take everything in, we examine everything. There's no judgments at all whatsoever. I mean, it doesn't matter what it is. We could be looking at a little piece of dried poop on the floor, and we could look at a rock, or a gem or whatever. We can look at them, and as a baby, they're the same. It's like, ooh, I can pick this up, check it out, put it in my mouth, see what it's about. I can pick this one up, put it in my mouth, see what it's about, and for to we come into this world so open, and then as we grow older, as we start judging things as to whether they're good, whether they're bad, and we are taught how to judge things one way or another. And and when we take on those judgments from our parents, is that we may be judging things that as less than good, that maybe they're only that way because our parents thought they were, rather than being open to the possibility of maybe this thing that we've been told all these years is not good. Maybe it is good. Maybe it will work good for us. And, I don't know. That's my thought so far. Welcome, Marjorie. Glad to have you on today.
Yeah, good morning, Marjorie. Yeah, I definitely can relate to this verse because, well, just on so many levels, like you ladies were saying about the emotional, social aspects of, closing people off, and also with, physically. Like if you think of water, think about how flexible water is. But if you freeze it, it's ice and it breaks, right? And it's the same with us when I tend to think of the giving and flexible as the feminine side, and then I'm not going to even say those words because it'll crack me up probably. But anyway, the other one's the masculine side. And a lot of times, we all have both energies, and I have a lot of male energy or what I consider male energy, not necessarily gender wise, but like I've always had to take care of myself from a very young age. And so I'm in that going after mode of things, that masculine side of things, rather than the sitting back and receiving, the feminine side of things. And I have to constantly remind myself to watch how stiff I'm getting on all aspects. One of the things with me physically, I'm really lucky that I am as flexible as I am, considering the injuries and the surgeries that I've had. And I'm so thankful for that, because I do see people get completely locked up physically. And I have been completely locked up physically in the past. And it takes something to get out of that. And I encourage people, if you're getting that way, do things, find something that you like to do, even if it's just a little sway to the music or whatever, but do something to move your body and keep it as flexible as you can, because once you start losing that, if you don't do things to counteract it, it just gets worse. And we've all seen those people that are like this in their older years, and some of that is can be a disorder, but called ankylosing spondylitis, where they all grow like that. But most of the time it's just, I think we're going to see, sadly, I think we're going to see a lot of people with neck issues because everybody's looking at their thing. So I think everybody's going to be walking around like this instead of like this, because their neck's going to be stuck like this in their older years. With our ideas, our beliefs, like you said, Samantha, so many times we're stiff about those sorts of things. Often it's not even our belief, it's a belief that's been passed on from childhood or whatnot. And I can totally see, like my grandmother, she was a single mom, when you're a single mom, you have to be both mom and dad. You can't, well, I guess you could sign up for welfare or something, sit back and receive. But if you're going out there after things, although I have to say, I kind of I kind of look forward to the, you know how there's that point where you're old enough where you can just get away with saying anything? I sort of look forward to that point. Not that I really pull back all that much now. God help me. Like my poor kids. I apologize to them now for what I'm going to do them in my old age.
Isn't that funny though? I mean, when you're little, you can get away with saying pretty much anything because you don't know any better. And then when you get older, somehow they're like, oh, well, she's old. It's okay. She doesn't know any better anymore. She lost that thought process or whatever. I don't know. I don't know what the thought is there. But yeah, I think, when you're talking about as you get older and you get stiff in the joints and maybe you develop other physical ailments and it causes you pain and the irony of that is that the more you move the less issue you have, but the pain causes you to not want to move, so then you get stiffer and stiffer and more uncomfortable. I mean, I have a person in my life who she's got all kinds of ailments and she does less and less and less. And I'm like, gosh, if you just would do something. I know it hurts to do it, but if you just power through that discomfort and keep on going, then you're going to feel the wonder on the, the other side, and, because I get it. When I wake up in the morning, yeah, I've got some stiff joints, and I stand up on the floor, and my ankles are like, woo, But I'm like, all right, it's all right. Just need a little oxygen down in there. I got to get the blood flowing, and once I get going, then it goes away. I mean, how many times have we experienced that where we just don't feel that great in the morning, but then once we get moving, or once we get over to work, or once we go do the thing that we don't want to do, then we're like all energized with it. I mean, I think that's the thing right there when we're talking about a lot of the physical ailments that we think we have are just our body just needs to wake up and get some oxygen in there. The only way to do that is to move. So, I don't know, what else can we talk about for this verse? So it's talking about the grass and the trees being soft and pliable in life, and then brittle in death. So then there's a little lesson right there. If we're soft and pliable, then we're going to be more alive than if if we're all hard and stiff and grumpy, and uncooperative. I think that's what I'm talking about here. Is those things cut us off from a lot of life experiences. I'll give you an example. Just about, I don't know, a year and a half or so ago, maybe a little bit longer than that, something like that, a while back. So we're living down in Georgia in our camper, and my husband he's wanting to come back up to Indiana, and he's wanting to do this trucking company and get us all back up here. And I'm like, I don't want to. No. I was so upset about it. I mean, I was literally throwing a tantrum about it because I was so set and wanting to be in this way, that I was cutting myself off to the possibility of any other wonderness, that could happen. And, of course, once I realized that was what I was doing, I was like, oh, hell, I'm doing exactly what I'm trying to tell other people not to do, right? So, and if I'd have stayed stuck in that spot, stuck in that, set in my way, that, I wouldn't be here, and, I wouldn't be experiencing the things that I'm experiencing. And, and so I've got a lot of new opportunities in front of me, and the business is doing good, and we're in a nice apartment that I really like, and the weather's not as cold as I thought it was going to be, so, it's, it's interesting how we do that to ourselves. We just get stuck, and then we don't want to move. Okay, that's all for now. Anybody else have any thoughts today? Can you think of an area in your life, maybe past, where you were kind of set in a way that you wanted, or something you thought, hey, the train, that's a good sign, right? That's your wake-up call. Where are you stuck right now that you can maybe be a little more flexible?
That does sound good. I think it's really pretty easy to get stuck. And I think sometimes our plan is to get stuck. I mean, we wouldn't term it that way, but we somehow value permanence, and it's change that life is about, and what we've got to be able to adapt to. And it becomes sometimes really distasteful to us to think that we have to, that we haven't gone past the point. We have to change, be flexible, look to leave what we've garnered. After I was divorced from my first husband, I guess it was maybe about 6-7 years, I followed a friend of mine to St. George, Utah. I was really headed on up to my family in defeat. I had been in a clinical depression for some time, and I just felt my life was over. And St. George, if you've never been there, is such a beautiful place. It's 50 miles from the East Gate. Well, I don't know. I grew up 50 miles from the East Gate to Yellowstone Park, so I guess I'm always thinking about the East Gate, but it wasn't probably the East Gate to Zion's National Park. And it really, really, really was beautiful there. Especially if you like red sandstone, that's a part of the country where there's plenty of that. And I recall about 10 years later, I had this raw donut in my stomach, and I felt like I was going to be leaving. And I had no clue where I would go, what I would do. I just felt, I just felt all the trepidation towards all the things that I've just mentioned that we have to be ready for. We have to be ready for change, and we have to be ready for flexibility, and we have to be ready to be supple, and we have to be ready to take on new things. And I was, I don't know why I think of this so often, but for some reason I think of the days when everyone's transportation was horses and wagons, and I think about being dragged behind a wagon with my heels stuck in the dirt and just doing everything I could to keep from having to go where, clearly I was going to have to go. And I think I'm not alone. I may be alone, but I think I'm probably not alone in really bucking up against the idea of things being different. Because I have such an interest in psychology and I have a minor in psychology, I'd always wanted to have some counseling, and I finally got some counseling, probably, I don't know, 2-3 years ago. And I was looking at that scene I just described, where my heels are dug in, and I'm being pulled and I don't want to go, and I just find myself having kind of a natural tendency to want to get to a place where I can just be and just relax and just enjoy life. And I don't think I've ever arrived at that or given credit to that time. I probably could look back over especially all this time that I've been trying to help with the puppies. It's been kind of a time like that, and um, I probably haven't given enough credit to that opportunity.
I liked that example that you used, Karen, and it brings to mind, um, well, I'm not big on water skiing or, water sports of any kind. I've always kind of thought of that as being drugged behind a boat, and that instead of having fun, right? And but it made me think about that, because I'm like, okay, if you look at the person who is, resisting, and they feel like they're being drugged. I mean, they're like scratching their knees and banging into the ground, and the whole world is like scratching up against them because they're being drugged, right? Whereas the person who is flexible and going with the flow, they're like jogging right along, the wind's blowing their hair, they're looking all pretty, the sun's shining on their face, they're having a great time, and or if they're a skier, water skier, they're like, jumping the waves and doing flips and having a good time with it. And I think that it's interesting. It's so interesting how when we are flexible in life and in our relationships and in everything, is that the harmony happens, harmony and enjoyment and pleasurable things come about for us. And when we are set in our ways and we're stiff and we go against whatever it is that's trying to happen, is we just cause ourselves pain. And and we don't even realize that we are the ones that are causing the problem, versus trying to embrace whatever it is. Who is that one that one person who's on YouTube? Maybe he has books too, but he talks about just embrace what comes up. Who's that guy? What's that guy's name? Matt Kahn. Yeah, I've listened to his I love his videos. He's so funny. And he talks about just embrace love what comes up, and when you do that, you can't help but be happy, because everything that comes up is something funny, I mean, I love it. He's like, when you're driving down the road and the guy cuts you off, you're just like, God, oh, that guy, he's so good at cutting people off. It's just awesome. I just love how awesome he is at cutting people off, and you can't help but be happy about that, right? I mean, even though you think it pisses you off to begin with, but yet then you're like, ha, 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 he's so awesome at that. And it makes it so that you're embracing life versus resisting it. Because when you resist that person, you get all mad, and then you're like, you're driving down the road mad, and then you make yourself more miserable. You cause possible other people to be miserable. I mean, why not be having a good time, right? I don't know. I love that guy. We got to maybe we should get his book in. Does he have a book? I don't know. Maybe we should read that one next.
He does have a book called Love What Arises. I have it.
Awesome.
Yeah, he's great. Like, the thing I love about him is most of the, quote, spiritual gurus are very, like, they would never say the F word or anything. I mean, he even lets that fly once in a while, and then like sometimes you can tell it was almost by accident or something, and then he's like, yeah, and he's like, he gets so tickled over himself sometimes. I get so tickled over him, but he's just funny. I mean, I guess being drugged to all those churches as a kid and beaten for being the heathen that I was, I am somewhat anti-ritual. I am I'm a little bit stiff around those areas. I have tremendous respect for everybody's beliefs. So I wish I could turn that dang thing off right there. I have, I wouldn't disrespect the way that people want to do things, but we can get so resistant. Like, and it causes so much problems. And I think about my son, because he's been battling pneumonia now for probably a month and been in the hospital and out and ER I don't know how many times. And part of the reason is his ribs are broken. So he's stiff in the chest. You know, he can't take those good deep breaths in and out, which is what we need to keep our lungs good, or in his case, to recover. You know, it's when your ribs are broken, it's really hard to take a deep breath because it hurts, right? And then, so an option to that is to take something that kills the pain, but sometimes that can cause respiratory issues too. So, you know, you're kind of either way. But I think about places in my life where I'm resistant. I'm about ready to do this hellacious road trip. I mean, good hellacious. It's I'm going to be driving out to California, and then I may wind up driving from California to Atlanta. We're just going to see how the time goes. But there are parts of me that were, I mean, I love the thought of doing a road trip again. Like, I haven't been able to do that in so long, and now I have my purple pillow, you know, so it'll be easier. I am finding I still have to use ice even with the purple pillow, but you know, there were parts of me that were like, oh God, how am I going to do this? Because you guys know I use cannabis here in Colorado, and to drive across state line with that is illegal, even though I have a prescription for it. And so I was like, how am I going to handle my pain? What am I going to do here? You know, and just really kind of asking the universe for some guidance. Thank God I am blessed and highly favored, because something came into my life that comes from a tree. It's a natural product, but it interacts with the opioid receptors. I might have mentioned it before. It's called Kratom, and it is not an opioid, but it interacts with the opioid receptors in the body. And so I'm not saying it's not psychoactive, because it can definitely be psychoactive, and you have to learn which strains to use, and, you know, dosing and all of that stuff. But the good news is there are strains of it that are very sedating. And so one of the places I have the most resistance is when I want to do something, but it's not like I try not to think that it's going to cause pain. But I mean, when you've had the experience that every time you've pushed your limit and it causes pain, you know, and then somewhere that's in there, you know, no matter how positive minded you try to be, somewhere it's like, you know, okay, I'm going to push through this and I'm hoping for the best, but I have to be prepared for the worst, because even an ER can't handle my pain for me. And so when you are at a place where there's no respite, there's no relief, you don't want to push to get to that part, right? You don't want to take the chance of going there. So now I found this Kratom stuff, and I can knock myself out with it. I can literally take enough of it that within 10 to 15 minutes, I'm out. And it gives tremendous pain relief. Like, I took it, and even though I got the kind for nerve pain, about 15 minutes after taking it, once I got the right dose, all of my arthritis pain went away. Now, I didn't realize how much I had, because the other pain that I have kind of overshadows that. I didn't realize, like, I always think of myself in my movement, and people comment on it. They think I'm a cat, like a big cat or something, because I move, I feel like I move fluidly, but I had no idea how stiff I had become until I took this stuff. Suddenly all the arthritis pain was gone, and I'm like, oh my God, I can move again. You know, it was crazy. I was doing the happy dance, and, you know, because I haven't found anything in the last 12 years. Even cannabis only gives me a certain amount of relief. I can still get completely out of control, and it doesn't matter how much I do. It doesn't bring me back into control. So I was still stiff in some areas. I was still putting some limits on myself because I didn't want to get to that part where I couldn't help myself. Now I'm almost dangerous because now I have something that will take my pain away within 15 minutes. And so I'm headed on a road trip to California. Then I might be going to Atlanta, and I'm bringing the wolf with me, so it's going to be fun. I checked yesterday about getting my AC fixed. My car is too old. They can't fix my AC. Like, it's a completely different system now than it used to be. I would have to have the whole thing rebuilt. So I'm probably going to rent a car so I have AC, because I'm afraid the wolf would get too hot in California and Atlanta. You know, that's compared to Colorado. It should be pretty hot. And she still has a lot of fur, even though she's shed out for summer. But yeah, so that's a place that I was, you know, had some stiffness, is not wanting to push too much because I was so afraid of that pain and not being able to get out of it. Now that I have something that can help me, I will be much more adventurous. And you know, people can check into Kratom. It comes from a tree, and there's lots of different strains, and they do different things, and you have to learn dosing and stuff. It can be very psychoactive, so you have to be careful with dosing. But what I have found is that I had to take like a certain size dose, I guess, to activate the receptors in my body for it or something. I don't know. The guy that I bought it from told me about it. And but after that, I've been able to take lesser dosages because, I don't know, my body's just attuned with it or something. I don't know. Like, I don't have to take those large doses, and I can still get, you know, reasonable pain relief where I can, like the other day, I did the dishes for the first time without wanting to cry after standing there for 5 minutes. Because normally 5 minutes of standing doing the dishes, like, my entire back is just one solid spasm, and I'm just like fighting through it to try to, you know, and I think about that muscle stiffness. Like, I'm constantly reminding myself to breathe, to relax, because when you have pain in your body, you tend to stiffen up, but you don't realize it. Like, it's just automatic. But if you are conscious of your actions, you'll realize you're holding your breath, you're tightening up. You know, thank God for Lamaze classes when I was 16 years old. Those things, that's been probably one of the greatest things I've ever done, was learn Lamaze, which I don't even know if they do that anymore, but long time ago, that's how you had your babies, and they taught you how to breathe. You went to classes and all that. And I use those Lamaze techniques, you know, and I'm constantly checking. I'm like scanning my body. Where am I tight? Relax, you know, breathe oxygen and love into that area. Because you're right, Samantha. When you have pain, it's a blockage of energy, a blockage of circulation. Like you said, you know, sometimes you just don't have oxygen getting to a place, so you just got to move. Now, some people are worse with movement. I was worse with movement for a long time. But there comes a point, if you keep working at it, like I kind of go in and out of worse with movement, depending on how much I overdo. I don't know. I'll have to be a little bit careful with the Kratom, because it really, like, I think I can do anything when I'm on there. And not that I want to like restrict or be stiff anywhere, but I also have to be somewhat realistic, considering some of the things I've put my body through so far. But, you know, a lot of people wouldn't be open to Kratom. And one of the reasons is the feds were trying to make it illegal. Matter of fact, in Indiana, Kratom is not illegal, but there's a I don't know that it would be called a chemical, because it's not a, you know, it's a natural thing, but there's a something in there, an ingredient, I don't know which one to call it, that is outlawed in Indiana. There's about 6 states that have laws against it. And I can't remember which ones they are. Indiana, I remember, just because my son lives there, because I thought it would help him. Like, it really helps anxiety. He has a lot of anxiety, and it's really good for helping anxiety and like PTSD and depression. And, you know, there's stimulating ones and then sedating ones. So obviously depression, you would want to take one of the stimulating ones, so you have to kind of do some research around it. But at least it's not like a pharmaceutical that's toxin out your liver. In fact, it's an antioxidant, so it's good for your body. So it's Kratom, if anybody wants to look it up. Like now, if I have to go to the store, like a lot of times, you guys have no idea how long I will go without going to the store. Like I will live on peanut butter and crackers for weeks, just not have to go to the store because it hurts, right? And now I can just say, okay, I can take a dose of this stuff. That's another thing I like about it. It works fast. It lasts a few hours. So if I have to go to the store, instead of eating peanut butter and crackers, I can just say, okay, I'm going to take a dose of this and go to the store and I'll be fine. So.
That's awesome, Catherine. I'm glad that you finally found something that can really make a big difference for you to the point where you can take a road trip. That's awesome. That is so awesome. Oh, wow. Driving down, from California to Atlanta, that's probably the longest road trip you can take without, well, I mean, it will be once you go there and then come back. It'll be a round trip of the country, right? I mean, wow. That's awesome. So guys, we were at kind of the quarter till the hour, and we were going to try and wrap it up a little bit early so we could discuss the next possible book when we get done today. And Catherine has to leave right at the top of the hour. So, who wants to just share their final thoughts on this verse today? Marjorie, we haven't heard from you today. Do you want to jump in there and share your thoughts real quick?
Sure. I'm sorry, I overslept. But yeah, glad to be here. I am looking at the verse. I guess I was thinking about something I had heard about when we're first born. That is when we have the most yin versus yang. And so as I was rereading the verses right now, I was thinking about how that's really making me think about that. We're soft and gentle and very feminine when we're first born. And then as we get older, we become more yang, more masculine. And I've also heard that drinking coffee does that too. So I'm a coffee drinker. So that's been making me think about, do I really want to drink coffee? And so the verse is really just reminding us about how to be. I mean, it's the thought of like, do you want to be in a lot of ways? How well do you want to live life? Do you want to be soft and gentle? And I don't really like the word weak, but I guess it's maybe becoming weak is making me think like someone who's less prone to being aggressive and combative or dominating. So in that sense, weak is maybe being totally the opposite of that. So that's just a way. What I'm thinking of the verse is just a guide to how to live life. And then I've been doing my usual exploring and seeking, and one of the things I'm hearing as a message for all of us is really taking care of our bodies, how important that really is, and which is really just honoring our own life and knowing how to live life properly or best way, and to basically be awake, to realize how, what we really are, what kind of beings we really are, how powerful we really are. And in that sense, also realizing that not only is ourselves internally, emotionally, and spiritually really important, it's like we came into this life with a body, like this mechanical, physical thing, and we really have to honor it. And so this verse is making me think about how are we really taking care of ourselves and our bodies, because that whole point at the very end, the hard and stiff will be broken and the soft and supple will prevail. I'm thinking, yeah, but a lot of it is like, how are you living and taking care of yourself, and how is your body really holding up? And if you're not doing any of that, if you're really living sort of, you're not well, you're not balanced, then you're going to end up, like the verse says, uh, just hard and breaking apart. So anyway, this is, I feel like I know a lot about how to take care of myself, or I think I know a lot about how to take care of myself. I'm always searching for that kind of information and loving it when I come across it. But how much do I actually really use for myself? And how much do I really act on the knowledge that I have and like practice it? So basically, I'm still a beginner. I feel very much still a beginner on how to do all these things, how to take care of myself on so many levels. Um, so anyway, it's still worth knowing the knowledge, or being aware and awake and paying attention and gathering all the information and the knowledge. And a lot of it has to do with money. Once I have, then it shouldn't make that the deciding factor, but because there's so many things you can do that don't require money. That's just what's within your mind and how you're thinking and things like that. All that is free. Takes a lot of discipline and effort, but the physical part of having the money to buy things to take care of yourself, your body physically for good health, that is a real thing. So anyway, those are my thoughts about the verse, and yeah, that's it. I'm sorry, I think I'm rambling now. I thought there was something else I wanted to share, but it doesn't come to mind very quickly, so I'll stop there. Thank you.
Yeah, you just got to be flexible, you guys. I witness this a lot in the businesses that I do. People, because I tend to get into startups, I'm one of those risk takers that doesn't mind jumping into there and going through. There's always all these speed bumps and stuff, and people get totally like bent over everything, every little thing. And so just be flexible, be like the willow tree instead of the pear tree. I don't know if you guys have ever watched how easily pear trees break, but just be like that willow out there and bend. Be like water, like Bruce Lee says. It's been a great verse. I won't be here next weekend because I will be at an event in, where am I going? California. So love you guys. Thank you.
Oh, I just wanted to say another thing. What I was thinking did come to my mind. I think it's from listening to Catherine. I did have a stiff shoulder like a year ago, and it just crept up on me. And I realized that it was also representative of an emotional reason. And I looked it up, like, what does a stiff shoulder mean? Because I believe in this. And it said that it's from someone carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. And I am a single mom, and and I was thinking, yeah, I do feel like that is what's happening and how I'm feeling. And also, I guess I had a psychic reading, and it was also like trying to make money and being financially successful with my business and with what I was doing as an online entrepreneur and things like that. And so I don't have the stiff shoulder anymore. So what Catherine was saying about moving and all that, it was a good lesson having the stiff shoulder. It took me a long time because I wasn't a very good physical therapy patient. And learning that you have to use your body properly the way it's designed. Like Catherine was making mention that because we all have devices and such, we're always bending our heads forward. And I did see an article where that is really not a good thing at all. Our heads are like 10, 11 pounds, and we're supposed to have straight spines. That's the most basic part of good health, is keeping your spine straight and standing straight. And when you're not doing that, when your spine is off, not aligned properly, it just lends to all kinds of issues, and affects you not just physically, your spine being crooked, but it's your spine is your immune system. So then you're not healthy at all, never mind physically misshapen or whatever. So it was a good reminder to think about, okay, so what this verse is also saying is, you know, don't let those emotional weights fall on you, because that's part of your health, is to be balanced in that way, not feeling all those emotional stresses and such. So anyway, it is important to think about what emotionally you're carrying within you, and is that making you not the pliable and the flexible, but instead the stiff and the, which is in my case, I was stiff, the shoulder, So anyway, that was it. Thanks for listening. And I guess I'll say goodbye to everybody, because Catherine has to leave. And I guess we want to discuss the next book, is what you were saying, Samantha.
Yeah, I was thinking we would discuss that a little bit, but we are kind of out of time. So, well, I guess we'll just have to address it next week, and we can keep on discussing it in our Facebook group too, as we've got a post in there where I said, what's everybody want to talk about next? And we've had a few comments on there. So maybe we just put some suggestions in there, keep talking about it there, and then we can talk about it next week and the week after. I mean, we've got, 4 or 5 weeks until we got to have another book. So we can do it. Karen, did you have any final thoughts before we go?
Thanks. I was just anxious to get onto that discussion. Can't we take 5 minutes with it, maybe?
Yeah, Catherine's got another Zoom she has to be on, and so we can't continue in this one because of that. So sorry.
All righty, fare thee well.
We could all get on early next week, like 10 minutes early or something.
I'm game for that. Who knows if
Okay.
I'll remember next week, but I probably will.
Awesome. Okay, guys. Well, I'm just going to wrap it up for today because we got to go. So have a great, awesome, amazing weekend. And thanks for joining the Saturday Morning Mastermind. Like I said earlier, if you want to join us next week, you can go to SaturdayMorningMastermind.com. There's full instructions there. It's inside of our Facebook group, so you can join us in the group as well. And that's it. Have a great day. Bye for now.
Thank you all. Appreciate you.